My dinner isn't ready yet. If you're not going to handle the housework or consider a divorce, I can't help but wonder who he thinks is responsible for preparing his meals. If that's how you feel, maybe we should just split up. What? I've reached my limit with this marriage and want to leave this place. Can you assist me? Why would I? We're not connected anymore, are we? I'm Karen, a 34-year-old office worker. It's been a year since I tied the knot with Shane. While most people are enjoying the joys of newlywed life, my experience has been quite the opposite. To be honest, our relationship has been quite tense. The root of our issues lies in his behavior. I ignored it before we got married, but now I see that he's a classic control freak, excessively domineering. Hey, where's the dinner? When's it going to be ready? I just walked in. If you had come home earlier, you could have cooked something yourself. What are you talking about? Don't you realize I've been working hard all day? I was at work as well. Your job isn't that crucial. I probably earn more than you. Stop bragging about your paycheck. You're being incredibly narrow-minded. I hold a significant role at my company. Soon, I'll be earning more than you. Well, I hope that's the case. Are you doubting me? How dare you question me like that? My husband reacts defensively to everything I say, always trying to assert his control. I'm going to impose a curfew on you. A curfew? His sudden announcement shocked me. We're not kids. I'm serious. Be home by 7 p.m. Don't say such ridiculous things. I might have to work late due to overtime. No matter how much I protested, my husband stood firm. Be quiet. I'm serious. You need to abide by this rule. A promise should be made through mutual agreement. What my husband was enforcing was nothing but coercion, a blatant threat. A few days later, after returning home past 8 p.m., due to work, I was faced with an unbelievable situation. What do you mean? As I tried to unlock the front door, I discovered the chain was locked. Panic set in, and I pressed the intercom. Yes? I heard my husband's voice. What's happening? What do you mean? We agreed on a 7 p.m. curfew, didn't we? Huh? You were serious about that? Of course I was serious. I told him that while he spoke with such confidence, his behavior was downright childish. I really want you to stop this nonsense and just open the door. No way, you always get so self-important. Self-important? What are you talking about? I mean, you act so arrogant when you think you're in control. In the end, my husband really refused to let me back inside. I felt deeply unsettled by his drastic change, wondering how he could have become so different from the man I once knew. We first met at a social mixer. At that time, he was a successful businessman employed by a top company, and he was very focused on winning me over. With his career and finances stable, I was attracted to his advances. He was always courteous and respectful. That changed when we began dating. I thought he was a kind and wonderful man, and I was truly delighted when he proposed. Karen, I promise to make you happy with these hands of mine. Trust me, and let's build our future together. Yes, thank you. I look forward to supporting each other. I had believed that marrying him would surely lead to happiness, but once we tied the knot, it was far from what I had envisioned. My husband turned out to be selfish, arrogant, and prone to verbal abuse. To make matters worse, about 6 months into our marriage, he abruptly quit his job. You quit your job? Why? That company wasn't worth it. They didn't recognize my talents. Why should a junior get promoted over me? It's ridiculous. He left his job impulsively, frustrated by not getting a promotion. It was a shocking turn of events. I had admired him as a competent professional working at a prestigious firm, and I had tolerated his verbal abuse as a result. But now, my once elite husband was suddenly out of work. He went on numerous interviews afterward, but none led to an offer. Damn it, why is this happening to me? I come from a top company. Even though I'm lowering myself by applying here, why can't I land a job? Maybe it's your attitude that's coming through in the interviews. Huh, don't act like you know anything. Your workplace is a lower-ranking company anyway. That's harsh. So you think so? I'm just telling it like it is. My husband took out his frustration on me. He had always been controlling at home, but his verbal abuse escalated significantly. Eventually, unable to find a new job, he settled for a part-time position, working only 3 days a week, claiming it was due to job hunting. His income dropped to around $700 a month, yet he continued to act arrogantly toward me. My view of him worsened daily, and I regretted marrying him more and more. I found myself constantly overwhelmed with household chores and meal preparations while enduring his endless complaints. It felt like dealing with a team manager. leaving me physically and emotionally drained. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to consider divorce, even though we had been married for less than a year. During this time, my husband grew increasingly bold, eventually imposing a curfew on me and locking me out of the house. I wondered why I had to endure such treatment after coming home exhausted from work and even doing the grocery shopping. He locked me out for not making it back by curfew. I was completely bewildered. Normally, I would consider returning to my parents' home, but since they had passed away, I didn't know where to turn. Desperate for help, I decided to call my best friend, M. Hello, M, can I come over now? What's going on? Did something happen? My husband won't let me into the house. What? Why not? Okay, come over right away. Thank you so much. With that, I hurried to M's place. Sorry for the unexpected visit. Don't worry about it. What happened? I explained how my husband had locked me out because I missed the curfew he set. He actually did that? Yes, I can't believe it. It feels like he's really being abusive. Maybe his pride from working at a big corporation is making him look down on you. Oh, and I also mentioned my husband's sudden resignation. What, a part-time job? That's unbelievable. How can he act like this when you're the one supporting us? Yes, I'm starting to think it might be best to leave him sooner rather than later. But we've only been married for less than a year. It doesn't seem right to end a marriage so casually. Karen, are you truly satisfied? No, my best friend appeared worried, taking a moment to think before suggesting, I'm not sure if your marriage can be saved, but you might want to start keeping track of his abusive behavior, document it or record some of it. Really? I think you should divorce him as soon as possible, and if you choose to proceed, I hope you can ensure he faces serious repercussions. Yeah, you could be right. Exactly, documenting everything is vital, and I'm here to support you through this. If you ever need a safe space, you can always come here. Thank you, Ma. My best friend provided immense comfort and support, and I felt truly thankful. Having her as my ally gave me the strength I needed to express my gratitude. I used the ingredients I had purchased from the grocery store to prepare a homemade dinner for her. This is amazing, Karen, you really have a talent for cooking. Really? It's been a while since someone complimented my cooking, so I'm delighted to hear that. Reconnecting with my best friend after such a long time lifted my spirits. After leaving MK's place, I sent an apology to my husband. Once he accepted it, I returned home. Have you really reflected on what you did wrong? Yes, I know I was at fault. I'm sorry. As I offered my apology with my head down, my husband's expression softened with satisfaction. As long as you comprehend that, it's fine. Just be more careful next time. From that point on, I did my utmost to fulfill my husband's demands. Despite my efforts, he frequently resorted to insults when he was in a foul mood. His words were belittling and dismissive, cutting deep each time. I started recording these incidents, gathering evidence for when I reached my limit. My husband remained unemployed, only working part-time. It appeared he wasn't even attempting to find a new job, as if he had given up. I managed to support us both with my income and handled all the household tasks. He continued to complain and behave poorly towards me, trying to exert control. He seemed satisfied with the situation, reliant on my salary while subjecting me to emotional abuse. I confided in my best friend that I didn't want a divorce, but my patience was wearing thin due to his increasingly unacceptable behavior. I felt like I was at my breaking point. How could he be so thoughtless? How does he see me? Why did he even marry me? These questions swirled in my mind. One day, after being forced to stay late at work, I returned home past 7 p.m. Thankfully, my husband was out and hadn't come back yet, so I hurried inside and began preparing dinner, but he arrived home shortly after. Oh, well, welcome back. Noticing dinner wasn't ready, he looked unhappy. Why isn't dinner prepared yet? I'm sorry, it will be ready shortly. Don't lie, it looks like you've barely started. I apologize, I just got home. As we spoke, I noticed he was carrying a bag from a luxury brand. While I was working hard, he had been spending leisurely on high-end items. His selfishness was infuriating and unjustifiable. Yet, he continued to berate me, completely ignoring my feelings. Are you incapable of learning, or are you intentionally trying to provoke me, you incompetent fool? If you neglect the household, we'll get a divorce. Do you understand? In that moment, my patience shattered. Did he really believe he deserved a meal from someone he treated so poorly? Fine, if that's how you feel, shall we get a divorce then? What? My husband looked shocked. I've decided to leave this house. Are you truly serious about divorcing me? Yes, I can't continue with you. You're superficial, useless, arrogant, and the worst partner I've ever had. My words seemed to ignite fury in my husband. His face turned red, and his entire body trembled with rage. How dare you speak to me like that? As a low-ranking employee, you have no right to criticize me. I have no use for a woman like you. With that, he pulled a prepared affidavit from a drawer. I hadn't realized he had it ready, but it worked to my advantage. I quickly signed the document, gathered my belongings, and left. I had severed all ties with him. Feeling liberated, I headed to MK's house, where she welcomed me warmly. You've worked hard, now you're free. Yes, I wouldn't have had the courage to divorce without your support. I'm truly grateful. Don't let your guard down. It's not over yet. He needs to face the consequences. Absolutely and completely. I hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against my ex-husband for emotional abuse. He seemed quite taken aback, clearly unprepared for a legal battle. Why me? Stop playing games, he yelled in anger. I was relieved to leave the details to my lawyer. Avoiding direct confrontation with his outbursts, my lawyer systematically presented the facts and evidence, and eventually, my ex-husband seemed to come to terms with the situation. He had been blaming me for the divorce to his parents, but the lawsuit compelled them to seek the truth. Upon learning the full story, they were horrified and decided to disown him. Now that he had lost his support system, my ex-husband was left to navigate life on his own. He continued living in the expensive apartment he had always coveted during his employment. Even after quitting his job, I had been sending him money to cover his rent, but now that we were divorced, he had to manage his living expenses, pay rent, and compensate me for his abusive behavior. With rent set at $1,000 a month and his income insufficient, he was in dire straits and reached out to me for assistance. Hello, what's the problem? Help me, I'm at a loss here. Why should I help you? We have no obligations to each other anymore. But we once loved each other, didn't we? That's unsettling. What do you mean? Do you think you're entitled to forgiveness just like that? Do you realize how deeply you've hurt me? I'm sorry, I'll apologize properly. An apology like that means nothing to me. Every time I apologize, you act all self-righteous. It's clear you have no respect for me. Just so you know, my salary has increased. I'm now earning more than you ever did as a full-time employee. What? You used to look down on me for being in a lower position, but it turns out you were the one in a weaker position. Your satisfaction with a part-time job and your failure to find a new full-time role only highlights your own shortcomings. No way. My ex-husband was devastated to learn that he was now inferior to me, someone he had once belittled. There's nothing more to discuss. If you contact me again, I'll report you to the police. Hey, wait. I stated this firmly, disregarding his pleas and ending the call. I had already blocked his number and intended to cut all ties with him. Later, I learned from my former in-laws that he had settled his unpaid rent with a loan and moved out of his apartment. He is now working full-time and living in a more affordable place. Despite this, he continues to make alimony payments to me on time, indicating that he's working hard with a renewed sense of purpose. However, that doesn't mean I have any desire to reconcile. I am now living in a spacious new apartment with my best friend, MK. We fill our days with enjoyable conversations, evening drinks, and a peaceful, fulfilling life. I am deeply thankful to MK for her support and plan to give her a special gift as a token of my appreciation. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video, and stay amazed.